guys, and welcome back to another video by me, Delegate 101 Productions, and today, as promised, I have issue 44 of the Star Trek Official Starships collection, and I've just noticed that in the name of Star Trek on the magazine is actually the whole plating of the Enterprise A, which is fun. But today we have the Enterprise era Intrepid type class, which not many people really like, but I think it's quite a nifty little ship. It's one of my favourite designs, and it fits in very well beside the NX-01, mainly for the fact that the saucers are pretty much near enough the same. So, as you can probably hear, I've got something wrong with my throat. I don't know why, but yeah, it's just my throat being my throat. So I'll put the model to the side, as I usually do, and we'll get straight into the magazine first, and then we shall head on to the model itself. The magazine is the same size as it normally is, and it's got the details here: phase cannons, the weapons, the length, when it was launched, what type of class it is, the ship's name, the United Earth Starfleet Intrepid, so UES instead of USS. No. And you can see a nice rendered picture of the Intrepid there, which makes it look very, very nice. I'm just going to move my tripod, which, as many people don't know, is actually DVDs and videos, because I'm too lazy to buy an actual tripod. So we've got the UES Intrepid, the designing the Intrepid, the interview with Robert Bonchoon, and its on-screen appearance. Now, you can see here that it says interview with Robert Bonchoon. Now, lately, that have actually been, I think it's from February onwards, there's been a lot of reviews, well, interviews with people about their work on Star Trek, and special things about Star Trek Next Generation Season 7, and in the Mail-On Freighter there's one about Star Trek Voyager Season 5, so they're kind of going along the more sort of lines of, now that we've got people captured into the thing itself, then we can expand on the more information side of things behind the scenes, which is really good. So we've also got all the legal stuff, how to put the Intrepid onto the stand, and some more important information, some more nice rendered pictures, the Intrepid herself. If we go over, we have a nice rendered picture of the Intrepid, which is exactly the same picture as the one on the front, which is nifty. So there's loads of information about the Intrepid herself. She actually only featured in 3 episodes, but she's got quite a high reputation. That's her captain there, Captain Ramirez. Don't know his first name, I'll be honest with you. That's a screen cap. But this ship came before the NX-01, so that's why it's got the same sort of design, hull plating, but it's got the much thicker warp nacelles, it's got the stabilisation fins, and the bridge is a little bit more plain and basic, but it's still a beautiful model nonetheless. As you can see here, there's a bit of information about the hull itself, so if you want to pause it and read, there you go. So the surface detail is, again, it's the same. It's got the forward deflector dish, sensor panels, more sensor panels, phase cannons. Phase cannons are kind of something that's a little bit iffy with the Enterprise era ships, because they're supposed to come out of 2 little holes on the underneath of the ship, but then they start firing from on top of the ship, and then you're like, well, where did they come from? So, but there's another nice shot of the Intrepid. You can see there her shuttle bays. She didn't actually have the underneath part that the NX-01 does, so she has the shuttles come out of bays like that, which the Enterprise does have, as you can see here, but are never actually used. So yeah, the Intrepid only ever appeared in 3 major episodes: the Expanse, which was the final episode of Series 2, Twilight, which was an episode in Season 3, and Storm Front Part 2, which was the second episode of Season 4. So she's a background ship, Same with Warp Delta, who we'll show you in a bit, which is a Delta Wing class. But here we have some more information about the Intrepid, about her helping the Warp Deltas defend the USS Enterprise against a Klingon attack. She was also in a in an alternate timeline. She got heavily damaged in fighting the Xindi, and there's Earth in the alternate timeline. There's the Enterprise with its crippled nacelles. Some more data feed on how many actual starships were called the Intrepid, and there's quite a few. So here we have some more information. We have the Warp Delta there, some information about the unknown ship, which we would assume is a early version of the Warp Delta. The stuff about the Earth Defense Force, slogan of the ship itself, torpedo range, Captain Reed. Yes, Malcolm Reed was going to be captain of the USS Intrepid at some point. There we go. Some more information about Earth. And here's the ship itself: stabilization fins, sensors, buzzard collector, stabilization, warp field generator, nacelle pylon, warp nacelle, center pallet, center dome, engineering hull. And then we come to the first mistake. Now, these magazines, these bits here, this design here, there are sometimes mistakes in where things are. They've pointed out that the shuttle bay is actually the impulse engine when it's not. That is the impulse engine. So that's a small mistake, but a costly one. There's the main deflector dish as well, which just seems to be getting bigger and bigger, to be perfectly honest with you. Every picture that's just getting bigger. And then designing the Intrepid, there's quite a few nice designs here. That was one of the... He made 6 designs and they chose 2 and loved them. So that was one of the first ones, the Intrepid. That's a nice looking ship. A bit too forward though. That's the one that we all come to know and love. Well, some of us love, some of us don't. That's quite like an Akira or the Thunderchild model in Star Trek Online. That one, again, a bit too advanced. That's quite like the saucer separated Enterprise E, and there's Warp Delta. So there isn't actually a name on the Intrepid, as you can see. That isn't a flaw. She never actually had a name. They wanted her to be nameless as a background ship, but she is called the Intrepid in the episodes. That's how we know her real name. The interview with Robert Rochune, which I haven't actually read over yet, so I can't give you any sneak previews of what this is all about, but I think it's about his time on Star Trek's visual effects team. So there's some nice red pictures here, and there's Robert Rochune himself. And then we get the back. We go on to the on-screen appearance of the Intrepid in the Expanse, Twilight, getting destroyed, the ships being broken down to create houses. So yeah, and then we go on to the Malon Freighter, which is our next one, which I have, and it is beautiful. It's a very brittle ship. I'll come to that when I come to it. So there we go. That is the Intrepid. I've rambled on for about 6 minutes of the magazine, which I didn't mean to, but we'll get onto the model itself, and Hadle Diddle, we'll try and get this done in quite a snappy amount of time. So as you can see here, the Intrepid model is quite close to the camera, but here we go. She's a beautiful model, unlike her counterpart, the NX-01. She isn't mainly made out of metal. She's very much metal plastic. She's 75% metal, 25% plastic, I'd say. She has an easy enough stand to sit on. Yeah, so bring that out of the way. So here's the Intrepid herself, and you can just see from a top view, a bottom view, a front view, side view, and a back view. Just how beautiful a vessel she is. Not many people like this design, like, oh no, she's a bit ugly, but for a pre-Warp 5 Enterprise NX class, she's really nice. You can see that the nacelles are quite thick. There's a lot of detailing on the inside. of these bars. There's a lot of detailing of those. You can see the stabilization fin itself, the aft section of the nacelle, with some nice bronze metallic paints painted on. It's kind of a goldy bronze, to be honest. You can see the nacelle fin with some nice bits of detailing on there. The hull, the secondary hull, there's indented parts, there's extra added on parts, pointy out parts, and this bit looks actually a bit like a shuttle bay. Just with the fact that you'd expect that to raise up. The nacelle's got some red parts on the bottom of it, a bit more like goldy colour, some more Aztec design. She's got quite a noticeable Aztec. In the pictures it wasn't so noticeable, and that was not really a problem, but in most lights you can see all the Aztec detailing, which is good because it shows that they've paid attention. So yeah, I only have a couple of problems with this ship. One of them is here, where the paint's kind of a little bit scarred and scratched off, and that's happened on quite a few places. But that doesn't really annoy me that much. It's a ship from the future, so she's going to get some battle damage. She's been in fights, so her paint job is going to get a little bit scarred. So I wouldn't say that it's so big a problem. It's hardly noticeable, especially when she's sitting like that. You can't really see it, and even if you do, it's just like, oh no, it's just a bit of battle damage from her battles. There's a couple of marks on the top of the saucer as well, but again, doesn't really faze me, not really noticeable. You can see the windows, they are out of alignment on the top, on the plastic, but again, doesn't really faze me. They have actually painted the ones underneath the buzzer collector. I can see why though. Because I have to put it together and then paint it, so but if you look behind you can see all the detailing of the two shuttle bays, which I was really happy with. The first time I literally opened this, I got these 2 days ago, and I opened it and I was like, oh dear, they've left a huge big massive gap. But I've never actually seen the Intrepid close up, and I've never actually seen the back of the Intrepid that close up, so I didn't realise that she had her shuttle bays were at the back. I thought that she didn't have any, to be perfectly honest with you. But she's quite a stubby little vessel, but she's a cute stubby little vessel. You can see that the hull plating is marked quite nicely on the plastic, and really nicely on the metal. They've done a great job. The two torpedo tubes are there. I assume that her face cannons come from somewhere, and there's the sensor dome, and just the carving's really, really nice. There's the impulse engines. They are there, not there. That will be the shuttle bay, and that would be a maintenance hatch. So probably that's where the shuttle pods come from, and they'll be where the work bees, or I don't actually know what they're called for that, but that'll be where the work bees we'll go for now will be. She's got very similar noticeable things that are the same as the NX-01, which is here, and I'll do a review of later on. But you can see that to start off with, she has the same slit at the front and the same deflector dish, though the NX-01's isn't as noticeable. She's got the same sensor pallets there, the same cuts in the hulls, the same holes where all the lights go, except for hers. The NX-01's haven't been filled in. You can see that the bridge is different, but here they've both got that sort of run forward slit bit here, but this one's much thinner than this one, and that's kind of the only similarities that they have. They've kind of got similarities in the detailing on the warp nacelles, and the front of the warp nacelles themselves are very, very similar. She's 165 metres long, and this Enterprise is 125 metres long, so they kind of work really well together. If you say that that's 60 metres, so if you said that that was 60 metres, 60, 120. Yeah, that would kind of work out. Should be a little bit smaller, probably about that sort of size. But they work really well together, and they sit quite nicely in the kind of Enterprise layout that I have on my desk. I've got the Enterprise ones on my desk for the fact that the Enterprise area is one of my favourite. As you can see here, this is the new layout of the Enterprise. So we've got the Enterprise itself, the Intrepid, the Andorian, the Vulcan, the Klingons, Nausicaan, Tholian, Xindi, Romulan, Bajoran. Why is that here? That's from Deep Space Nine. That's there because it kind of doesn't fit in with 24th Century. So, yeah, that's why that's there. But there's the Coalition right there. So, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. So, that's it for the Intrepid type. She's not the Intrepid class, she's the Intrepid type. I will hopefully be here with another review tomorrow on the Malon export freighter. So please keep a lookout for that. And thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you later. Goodbye.